Let's continue our study of place-value relationships. This is part 2 of a video, and this correlates with Unit 1, Lesson 6. So we have been learning that as we multiply by 10, our number gets, if we're starting out with a whole number, our number gets bigger. If we're dividing, our number gets smaller. But what we're really practicing is where the decimal point goes in our number. Let's look at this problem. Starting with 61, divide or multiply by 10 or 100 until the chart is filled. Okay, so we're starting with 61, and they've put it in the chart for us. 61 times 100. We could add 61 100 times. We could practice what we learned in our last video, and that is when we remember that when we multiply by 10, we're really multiplying, moving the decimal point over. So if we start with here, with the decimal point at the 61, we can count the number of zeros, 1, 2, and move our decimal point over 2 spots, and so then we get 6,100. Count the zeros, we move the decimal 2 spots. Now we have 61 divided by 10. Let's do this one right here. 61 divided by 10. Well, 10 doesn't go evenly into 61, but think about it for a moment. How many times does 10 go into 60? And that will give you a little clue as to how we're working out. Our number is getting smaller. Well, 10 goes into 60 6 times with 1/10 left over. And so what we did, we have our 61. We're dividing. Our number's getting smaller. The decimal point's here. We move it over 1 place to the left. When we multiply, we move the decimal point to the right. When we divide, we move it to the left, and we do that by how many zeros there are. 61 divided by 100. Do I put the zeros on this end? Do I put them on this end? Let's think for a second. We're at 61. Our number's going to get smaller. It's going to get smaller by 2 decimal places. 1, 2. So our number becomes 61 hundredths. And when we look at this, 61 divided by 100, we could write it like that. And that tells us automatically that it's 61, and the last digit always goes in the spot where this is hundredths. So the last digit goes in the hundredth spot. And here's a clue here too. Anything that's over 100 is going to be in the 100ths place value. So now we have 61 times 10. So again, let's erase some of this and give us a little bit more room. Erase that too. 61 times 10. We could add 61 10 times, but if we know that 6 times 10 is 60, what is 60 times 10 going to be? Well, it's going to be 600. That gives us a clue that our number's getting bigger. So our decimal point moves from 61 over here, and it becomes 610. We're multiplying by 10. We move the decimal point 1 place to the right, and our number becomes 10 times bigger. All right, let's look at the next problem. How is the 9 in the ones place different than the 9 in the tenths place? Well, let's look for the 9 in the ones place. Okay, that's this 9. And let's look at the 9 in the tenths place. How is this one different than this one? Well, we know that every time we move over column-wise, our value increases 10 times. The 9 in the ones place has a value of 9. The value in the tenths place has a value of 9 tenths. Can you see a relationship there? If we multiply this one times 10, what would we get? Well, we would get 90 tenths, which equals 9. So now we have a relationship. 9 is 10 times the value 9 tenths. We could also say 9 tenths is a tenth the value of 9. Both ways make sense. This is one that we're probably the most familiar with, and really we're just reviewing that every time we move over a place value, the value of the digit increases by a factor of 10. So by a factor of 10, 0.9 times 10 equals 9. This is what that means, by a factor of 10. Let's try one more. Choose the number that has the digit 2 with a value that is 10 times greater than the value of the 2 in the number 5 and 132 thousandths. Okay, that was a little wordy. Let's read that again. Choose the number, okay, A, B, C, or D, that has the digit 2, looks like they've all got a 2 in it, that has a value 10 times greater than the value of the 2 in this number right here. What is the value of the 2 in this number? Here's the 2. What's the value of the 2? Well, here's our ones place, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. The value of the 2 is 2 thousandths. It's in the thousandths place. So we're looking for one of these numbers where the 2 has a value 10 times this. We're looking for something that is 2 1,000ths times 10. 10 times greater. Oh, remember what we said about every time we multiply by 10, the value is increased by a factor of 10. So here we have 2 in the thousandths place. We know it's not this one. Still in the thousandths place. Hopping one spot to the left increases the value by 10. So we're looking for a 2 that is in the hundredths place. 2's in the tenths place, 2's in the hundredths place. Now we're not talking about the whole number increasing by a value of 10. We're talking about this one little digit. This digit here is in the thousandths place. That digit has moved to the hundredths place. 100th is 10 times bigger than 1,000. 200ths is 10 times bigger than 2 thousandths. That might seem a little tricky. The more you practice it, the easier it will become. Thank you for joining me.